Greetings, everybody. I'm a raging papist. Thanks for joining me. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a video that I've been meaning to do for a very, very long time. I've had this discussion with several people, actually, that have been interested. And it's, what's the deal with the Sorceress? The Sorceress, if you don't know, is the avatar that you're either looking at on screen or I'm sure you've seen before. Essentially, she's a character from the game Dragon's Crown. And the reason I have chosen her as my avatar, at least for the current time on this channel, is frankly because of the amount of hate that she has received prior to Gamergate. Essentially, if you don't know, the artist that made some of the Dragon's Crown characters, the guy that made the Sorceress, was chastised, used, and abused by people in the games journalism press. Essentially, it was, how dare you draw this character? Look, she's ridiculous. My God, look at the size of her breasts. You know, you're objectifying women, and this, games like this, frankly, should be censored. They shouldn't be allowed. We shouldn't sell them. And if you like and play this game, regardless of its merits, we're not talking mechanics at all. We don't care about this game. But if you're willing to play a game with a female character depicted as the Sorceress, you are scum of the earth. You are a terrible human being. And I had never seen such vitriol pointed at a character before. I've seen journalists say that some certain characters are racist, certain characters are this or that, and yeah, we're gonna score the game negatively. But my God, they do not like her tits, man. They do not like the Sorceress at all. In fact, there was an article. I forget the company that wrote the article or that published the article, but essentially it said that anyone who most people that like the Sorceress are probably just a bunch of closet pedophiles. I mean, who likes tits that size on an adult woman besides a pedophile, right? That makes total sense. So essentially, that was the beginning of why I gravitated to the Sorceress. She was just an icon of vitriol for games journalists, and I saw her as a sort of avatar for my rebellion against, in support of Gamergate, against all this corrupt media, and against, frankly, bigotry and hatred towards artists and depictions of the female form that they don't like. They don't support that. Now, so that's who she is, the Sorceress from the game Dragon's Crown. There are a lot of things that I've been thinking about, though, in relation to who she is. Besides obviously me having a go then at games journalists, why else do I like her? Well, two issues mainly. One is I am an adult male, straight and narrow like the vast majority of people on this planet, and I do appreciate the sight of a beautiful woman, even if she is just drawn. Now, she is just a piece of art. So I don't think there's anything to resent or to pull back from, because I've actually heard from people that, one commenter on my channel a little while ago said, you say that you're Catholic and yet you have this avatar of a overly, ridiculously endowed female. Haven't you heard of, domesticity, chastity of the eyes, basically? Why would you, which essentially for the non-Catholic viewers out there, essentially it is, why would you want to portray or put out an image? Why would you want to look at an image that may induce lustful desire within you, right? Isn't that sinful? Isn't that inherently wrong? Because you voluntarily then put yourself in the danger zone of having inappropriate or unclean attitudes. It's essentially, it's a form of pornography, essentially. And I'll say I get that argument. I do not think Sorceress is pornography, though. She may be lewd, but she's not pornography. And essentially what I'm going to argue is, and how I feel about it, is that artists make all kinds of characters, and they make all kinds of characters to embody certain traits, to portray a certain idea. You'll see it's in everything. It's in every piece of art. Characters are supposed to represent and typify a certain concept or theme that the artist is putting out there. Sorceress is no different. She is a drawing. She is supposed to be an exaggerated form of human female sexuality and beauty. I, who admire beauty and sexuality, appreciate that. I can see that. There's nothing that I see about her that makes me want to say, you know, this is wrong, this is improper, you shouldn't view her. She's not naked, she's not nude, even though I did crop the picture right there so that it makes it seem like she's actually not. And the thing that worries me about that line of sort of strict adherence to canonical law is that I feel that you run the danger of being the other side of the coin from the SJW. You know, the SJW, social justice warrior, wants to smash human sexuality. They don't appreciate it. They don't like human beauty. They don't like the idea that you would have a standard, right? They don't like the idea that a male would say, you know, I like beautiful women. I appreciate hot women. They don't like that at all. And in fact, they're trying to erode human sexuality to the point that it's either all interchangeable or it doesn't exist. So it's essentially a relativistic sense, or it's not there at all. Either way, it's destroyed. And I see a danger in saying, get rid of this image, get rid of this this lustful image, because I don't want to then do just the opposite of what they do, right? Talking with Game Diviner in one of my other interviews, even he has said that within the church, there are times of sort of a prudery where we want to uphold, you know, the idea of chastity, of domesticity of the eyes and sacred flesh and all of that, which is all good, but it can be taken to an extreme, which is essentially, you know, censor the human body, censor human sexuality, when what you shouldn't be doing is trying to censor it, but you as a thoughtful human being who is in control of your own life, control your human sexuality. That's what you do, right? I mean, you control your actions here. You may not be able to control your feelings, but you control what your reaction to those feelings is. And so that's why we're currently in the time of the church when we've gotten rid of those, we've taken off the fig leaves, right? We've taken off the censorious things that have essentially been placed on beautiful works of art that are supposed to be exuding the beauty of the human body. This thing that we live in, this thing that has been gifted to us. So that's why I like the Sorceress. I like the Sorceress as an avatar for Gamergate, for my own as my own reaction to the political thought. I like her because she is a beautiful woman, and I'm not afraid to say that as a man, I like beautiful women. So much of the progressive narrative that we're seeing, that's being pushed at us from every angle in modern society, is just so detriment to males. And I'm not an MRA. I'm not an MRA. I'm not a MGTOW. I'm not any of that. Obviously, I've read some of their literature. I've interacted with them, but I am not one of them. I see flaws in both line of thought. But what I can take, one of the good things that I can take away from the MRA sort of movement is that men have sexuality, men have desire. I like the sight of beautiful women, and I'm not going to be ashamed about it. I'm not going to be abrasive. I'm not going to, push. I'm not going to be stupidly antagonistic about it, right? I'm not going to turn into the bro dude who just wants to talk about tits and ass and, you know, all the good things that males like to talk about. And I do enjoy those things from time to time, talking about those things. But I'm a man. I like my masculinity. And I'm not going to sit here and be chastised by some games journalist who doesn't like, who's the rabid feminist who wants to see feminine beauty destroyed, who wants to live in a world devoid of all those things, specifically so that there's no standard, so that there's nothing to live up to. You see, if there's no standard of beauty, there's no reason to look good. You don't need to worry about it, right? That's the base desire. That's the base physical. Well, I don't need to look good today because who cares? It's all part of the patriarchy, right? And then there's the other angle of the political nature of it. I don't need to adhere to this because it's all part of the Marxist oppressive system known as the patriarchy. Then me rejecting beauty, me rejecting human sexuality, me saying that I have total agency within myself and it can be whatever the hell I want. I reject, objective norms. Then I am in total control. I reject both of those approaches. So let's see. What else is there to mention about her? I mean, I guess certain people could look at this and just say, well, AJ, you're just taking the tits, right? You just like the tits. And that's fundamentally untrue. So we'll see what happens here. As long as Gamergate is going on, I will be using the Sorceress for my avatar. And until there's a bit more reason in our society, I will continue to push back against the Puritan SJWs that specifically try to who want to erode society, who want to destroy human sexuality and human freedom for the sake of themselves. Because let's not bullshit ourselves here. The reason they don't like these things is because they specifically don't want to live by them themselves. That's it. They're acting for themselves. It's entirely selfish here. That's why they want to destroy human sexuality. The rabid feminists who don't have it, who live in fear of beauty, who are jealous of other women, that's why they want to destroy it. So if you're Catholic, please don't do the same thing. Follow canon law. Absolutely. I'm not saying don't be chaste. I'm not saying don't be virtuous. Obviously not. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge the dignity and the beauty of the human body, and the female form and the male form. That's how they were created, after all, right? So, yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to wrap up some immediate thoughts, because I get so many comments, I get so many messages on Twitter and on the channel of, well, first of all, who is this? Second of all, why are her tits so big? And why, as a Catholic, do you think that's okay? So I hope I've answered some of those questions. I feel like perhaps this is a topic I should have written an essay about and then read the essay, but I like to be a bit more unscripted here. I like the female form. I appreciate the female form as a male. I'm not ashamed of my own male sexuality. I like her because she is an avatar against these corrupt games journalists. And by corrupt, I mean heavily biased and trying to control the industry and control society through that. Trying to rewrite the gamer identity to fit their progressive agenda. That's why I like the Sorceress. So, once again, thanks for joining me. I'm a Raging Papist. You all take care. Bye-bye.